You know how the gospel has been reduced and how the Great Commission has been compromised from making disciples to making converts. And making converts is important. All of heaven rejoices at a single sinner that repents. No question about it. But that's not the goal, it's the beginning. And it's got to be preached as the beginning. And our Great Commission is to make disciples, not just converts. And he defines that as teaching them to observe everything the Lord commanded. Now, when they partook of the Passover, from which this one event is what set them free from Egypt. Egypt representing the world, Pharaoh representing Satan, the god of this world who had kept God's people in bondage. This one sacrifice of the Passover sets them free from all that. So they leave Egypt in one night. I think it took 40 years to get, one night to get them out of Egypt, 40 years to get the Egypt out of them. There's a process of having our minds renewed. But it began with, when you partake of this Passover lamb, you've got to eat the whole thing. It said, it specifies, you've got to eat the head, you've got to eat the entrails, you've got to eat the whole thing, and none of it shall be left over until morning. Now, I just submit to you, a lot of the gospel that's being preached is, oh, listen, if you only like the white meat, that's all you have to have. If you only like the dark meat, that's all you need. And that's why I think many are not even getting out of Egypt. Not even getting out of the bondage of this world. And we can be out of the bondage, but still be bound because it's in our heart. It takes a while for our minds to be renewed and go through this process. But I tell you, we've got to believe the whole message of this life. And not just take the parts that we like. We can't just say, I love the Holy Spirit, I just don't want tongues. I tell you, if we're partaking of all of him, we want everything he's got. Everything. And even if we don't like him, we don't understand, we still want him because we want all of him. He's Lord of all or not Lord at all. And I think there's a way that we're going to have a great harvest of the saved getting saved. And then going on to making them into disciples. I believe less than 10% of all Christians are true disciples according to the Lord's own definition of what his disciples were. You go through that and see how many you can think of who are really living the life of a disciple. Well, that's going to happen. We're going to be disciples. Then we're going to go on, become servants, bond servants of his. That's a higher level of maturity. And then friends. And then sons. You know, I shared last year how I had that experience when the Lord said, you're no longer a servant, but a friend. And I said, I don't know how to do this. He said, you don't. He said, I've got to deliver you from that slave mentality. But you couldn't have gotten here without it. And I remember my response. I never remember having such personal, intimate conversation with the Lord on such a level when I could hear him as clear as you're hearing me. And I didn't even know what to say. Finally, I reverted back to my slave mentality. Lord, I'm going to finish this book for you this summer. I am so excited. It's going to be. Lord said, I can get anybody to write those books. He says, labor's cheap. He said, I don't have many friends. He said, friends are expensive. So what did I do this summer? I've got weeks set aside. I'm just going to be alone with the Lord in my cabin, almost entirely alone, with no other contact except 2 dogs who are incredibly spiritual. Now, I woke up. I have spiritual experience. Let me tell you this. Someone asked me yesterday, I think it was Robin, do you think dogs can see in the spirit? I had a wolf manifest itself in my bedroom. I mean, I woke up, it's clear, I felt like I could have touched it. And I could tell you details about it. And all of a sudden, it starts howling. Both my dogs woke up, started growling and barking at that place in the room where that wolf was manifested. It lasted, it howled for maybe 10 seconds, then disappeared. The dogs went back to sleep. Like, we got rid of that guy.